Greetings, Patrick here on a very stormy Michigan night. We have had thunderstorms rolling through our area pretty much. There is a chance that we could lose power, our Wi-Fi connection during this interview. It has already gone out two, three times already. So I'm just saying that if suddenly we disappear, it's because we have severe storms rolling through. It started out in the morning stormy, and then it was raining as I went to the library. And then when I came out of the library, it was beautiful, sunny, clear skies. And so, wow, said, okay, perfect, nice day. Then the afternoon, it started rolling through again. And we have been getting pounded by wave after wave of storms. So, and we're supposed to get them tomorrow as well. So we will stay on as long as we can with our guest producer and actress Kim Durham. And yeah, this could be a fun show. I think we'll be able to sneak it in and have a little bit of fun with it. All right, yeah, that's crazy. All right, so what's been going on? Wow, we've had a very busy month. I want to say thanks to everybody who wished me a happy birthday. I woke up over on my Facebook page and I was crushed. I was like, there's like almost 150 people had come over and wished me a happy birthday. I was like totally amazed by that. I didn't think anybody would even. I didn't even think about it honestly. But thank you for that. Um, our group, which I'm going to put down in this description down below. Our Facebook group for Eight Questions With has suddenly become pretty banging as of late. We're putting up a lot of content in there. If you want to join our friendly group, you're more than welcome to. We are. It's been a lot of fun. I've been working hard on it, and we've gotten a lot of fresh faces, and it's really cool. Um, and it is a private group, so it is heavily monitored. And there's not going to be there's no spammers or there's no pornographers or no marketing people in there. Nobody gets in that way. It's either invite only or from people in the group that invite. So it's a safe space basically to share your content, share whatever you're doing on YouTube or whatever platform you're working on. It doesn't have to be YouTube. If you're a Twitcher or if you're in Rumble or anything like that, you're more than welcome to share your content in the group. So uh, please consider doing that. And yeah, that'll be a lot of fun if I can see a few heads over there. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's brother Max is in the house. What's going on, brother Max? Let me see if I can. I'm gonna refresh my page here. I can see if I'm getting the chat, and I am getting the chat. And that's why I had a feeling about that. Hey, Dennis, thank you so much. Um, yeah, it was pretty interesting, Dennis. Did you get the note from Eric? Um, so our good friend, hey internet, it's Eric. He did a review on The Crow. The Crow is his all-time favorite movie. I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought it was Stone Cold. I really did. I thought Stone Cold was his favorite movie. I did not know it was The Crow, but The Crow with Brandon Lee is his favorite movie. Well, he went and saw the new Crow, and he came back and um, he gave a very fair and honest review. He liked the Crow very much. I think as a fan, he was probably just he even stated that he was disappointed with Danny Houston's performance. And I pretty much think honestly, I think he says he looked like he just phoned it in. And I think I wanted to tell him that this movie, as soon as it was announced, The Crow was announced, it had no chance. It just didn't have any chance. And even putting Skarsgård in there, who's a very popular star, played it. He played in John Wick 4. He's done The Northman. I mean, he's a very popular actor, but even he couldn't save that movie. Um, they pretty much scrimped by on what they used for budget. I mean, they had two named stars, Skarsgård and Houston. Nobody else in there was anybody ever knew. And we talked about how all the henchmen, all the bad guys who were in that movie were generic. Um, but he still liked the movie. He liked it a lot. He liked the comic book aspect of it. He liked the violence of it. I mean, he gave a good, honest review. And someone pinged him and asked him if he had been paid by Lionsgate. Does Lionsgate supporting you writing this review? And really funny about that is that we both know, Eric and I, we both know there's another reviewer who does the same thing. Everybody is going this way with their reviews, but there's always that one person going the opposite way. And you're wondering, like, are you going the opposite way because you really like the movie, or are you just trying to be controversial? Like, look, I'm different. With Eric, it's his favorite movie. It's his favorite movie. I can understand him why he wants to defend it and why he thought it was good and everything else, but he was honest about it. There's another guy we both know who does reviews, and he just watches everybody else go that way, and then he goes that way just so he can be different. And he's not. He's just a slappy, and everybody knows it. But I felt bad for Eric because of the movie didn't do that well. I know he had high hopes for it, um, but I knew it was going to be DOA for me anyway. Is when I looked to see who was in the movie, and I didn't know anybody other than Danny Houston and Bill Skarsgård. Some girl named FKA Twigs. I, what kind of I have no. I must be a rap name or something. I don't know. I had never heard of her before. Um, so let's see. Dennis dropped a review of it as well, but I enjoyed it. It's the second best Crow movie. Just saying, not saying much, but I like the story. Hi, Jamie. Jamie Hill is here. All right. We will be talking to someone from the Edmonton area in September. A young actor coming up from Edmonton, and will be making his debut here on Eight Questions Fifth in September. So Edmonton, always delivering the talent. So yeah, I gave him my review though, Danny Houston. I personally feel this is what happened. I think they announced the movie. I do. I think they announced the movie. They announced the cast, pre-production, and then the backlash was just so bad. It was so bad. I mean, they were getting it for even while they were filming the movie. I mean, nobody even saw anything from anybody. And I think Danny Houston knew it. I think he knew he was on a turkey. He signed up for a turkey. He got paid his money, of course, but I don't really think that he put his heart into it because Danny Houston does not give bad performances. He does not. He's always very, very good, very good. And so when I heard that he said that he wasn't very good in this movie, I think he just, he sort of did like a Michael Caine in Jaws: The Revenge. He just picked up the phone and dialed it in. He got his money, and I think he knew that this movie was going to be DOA no matter what was said or who was in it. So, and it didn't help that there were so many unknown actors. Nobody knows them, and I think it's just, yeah, it's just a tough movie to do, and came out there and just got absolutely crushed. I think the only people that were happy, more happy to see the Crow crash and burn, were probably the people who were in Borderlands. That's probably about it. Look, we sucked so bad the week before, and everybody's talking trash about Borderlands, and then the Crow comes out, and then there you go. But our doorbell has rang, and we're going to be talking to Kim Durham. I sort of kept her name out of my pre-show here because this is going to be a really interesting discussion, and it's going to hit some heavy topics too. Um, and so I'm glad you guys are all here. Um, so share us out if you can. Stay as long as you can. and I'm looking forward to talking to Kim and about some of the things that go bump in the night that we don't really talk about. Oh, thank you so much. All right, Michael Menard is in the house. That's right. I'm sure Raymond gave me a toast, and tell him that everybody loves Raymond. Of course, Rob Merritt gave some great advice the other day to me about the show. Iowa, love you guys over in Iowa. All right, here we go. Please help me welcome in producer and actress Kim Durham as we talk about her career, including the new movie Pale Horse. Here we go. Ta-da!
Hello, Patrick. Lovely to
Hi,
be
how are you, Kim?
very
We
happy to be here.
very happy you're here too. And like I said, I sort of kept for our pre-show, I sort of kept it on the down low as far as what you and I will be talking about, because I asked you pretty late in the game that we're going to be touching on some subjects later on, and I asked if you're okay with that because it's an aspect of filmmaking that we have never really talked about here. I can tell you right now, we have never had we have never talked about anything like what we're going to be talking about here tonight. I never had that in any of the other shows I have. So it's going to be interesting to talk about that. And you can walk us through it on your role as a producer, because I'm sure that's something any producing team is the last thing they ever expect to run across. Um, and so we'll be talking about that aspect of filmmaking and music, I guess. Yeah. First of all, though, we're going to get this off to a happy start. Glad you're here. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Can you see the chat okay?
Yes,
Good.
yes. And happy belated birthday to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really was. I was so surprised to get that many. And then I mean, it was just like it was so cool because my friend Cindy Cowan came by and wished me a happy birthday. She's a big producer herself. So she came by. I mean, I've talked to Cindy for years, but I didn't expect her to come by and wish me happy birthday. And then I hope I get something out of this too. For my birthday present, Beth Broderick came by. I was really like, wow, that is so neat. Thank you so much. I think that was like, I was like, wow. I've been wanting to talk to her for a while, so hopefully something good will happen from the 150 people that came by. I did not expect that. Um, has that happened to you? Have you had your birthday on Facebook and woke up and see 150 people saying, "Hey Kim, happy birthday"?
That's wonderful. Yes, I have.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that. But then again, you are very well known,
Well,
and people know you. They know you're a very respected producer,
thank you.
and you're also an actress, working actress as well. And we have actually indirectly talked before because I interviewed your husband.
Fiance, but yes, you
Yeah.
did. Yes,
Yes,
you did.
so that was a lot of fun too.
Soon
Uh,
to be husband.
what? Oh, have you guys set a date yet?
Not yet. Not quite yet. But
Don't do it. Don't do it until you get all your ducks in a row. Take it from me upon this, because once you put the date down, once you speak the date into existence, it'll get here like that. It'll get here so fast, Kim. I'm not even kidding you.
I better set it
Uh,
in because I'm looking forward to it very much. So
uh,
that
I def- I definitely I'm looking forward to that too. To the date announcement, and congratulations. And when it happens, I mean, it's going to be exciting. I'll be one of the biggest cheerleaders. I'm a great fan and proponent of marriage. Um,
wonderful.
Everybody's saying hello. Michael is saying hello, and our friend Dennis is here, and Betty J. Gathers is here. Thank you guys all so much. Anthony's here. All right, so let's get this party started, because, like I said, you are a multi hyphenate. You're an actress and a producer, and I'm sure a writer. many more, talents that you have. Um, but I guess my first question to you will be is, how did it all get started?
That's a good question. I think it started just in the desire to be a storyteller, to uh, to tell stories and to share in the creative process, like so many artists that I had been admiring for so long. I started actually working in procuring financing monies for folks like myself now who wanted to make movies. So I was kind of the liaison for a long time between filmmakers and investors. And in watching that process up close for quite a long time, I decided maybe I should make a movie of my own. And I've always been a uh, great fan of every art form, and so I guess that was what started it all. A desire to be an artist, like so many of the people that I admire.
That I think there's been a few like that have actually. In fact, I was actually reading about this because I just did a review of this movie, and I was reading the biography of director Nancy Meyer, and Nancy Meyer actually still got her start as a screenwriter and as a producer, and they went to her and they says, "How would you like to make a movie? How would you like to do your own movie?" Because based on her screenplays, they have gotten some hit movies. So they said, "Why don't you direct one?" And initially she said no, but then she came back and said, "Okay, fine, I'll direct. I'll get involved in that process." Um, I think when people ask you to do something that ask you to say, "Hey, have you considered producing? Have you considered executive producing?" Or I just think it speaks very highly to your talent that people come to you and ask you to get involved on that level. Um, I mean, considering that, yeah, considering that how competitive the industry is, people don't necessarily. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but people don't necessarily go out of their way to offer other people, you know, different roles when because they want them themselves. I want to direct, I want to be a screenwriter, I want to produce.
Sure.
Yet, but for someone to sit there and say, you know what, I may be talented, but I'm not Kim Durham talented.
Oh,
So I want to make this project go. So let me go ahead and get her involved in this. I mean, I think that speaks very highly of you, of your skill set.
well,
Now,
thank you. I mean, I think I can't necessarily, uh, although I appreciate that, I can't entirely contribute it to talent, other than I would say for the better part of the projects that I've worked on, Pale Horse excluded, uh, the majority of them have been contributed to my talent in raising money, mostly. Being able to procure financing for projects has been, I think, has been what led me into a lot of projects. But that I suppose is a talent in itself, not the kind of talent that I wish I had, like a lot of my peers, but I suppose a form of talent.
it is because without the budget, what do you got?
Mm.
Right? I mean, if no one's getting the money for the director and the producer and the production company, if no one's acquiring those funds, you ain't got a movie.
True.
So, I mean, and especially getting money now. I mean, let's see. I want to take this question that Michael Menard is asking. Michael Menard is a fine director, screenwriter out of Iowa. He is making his second film as we speak. He's co-directing a movie. He already has one out, but he has a question for you. And he says, "Do you only produce your own projects, or what is the majority, or what is your role majority of the time? You direct, you direct all sorts of projects. I mean, you're one of the producers of Downton Abbey, which blew me away. Uh,
Well, and to you, to the gentleman asking the question, congratulations on your work. No, I produce I produce various types of projects. The majority of what you see, for example, on my IMDb, has been as a consequence of working in, as I mentioned, as one procuring development monies for projects. But I certainly do that for various types of projects, as you can see on my IMDb. It's kind of a mix of genres there. But no, I'm not stuck on doing one certain type of movie.
Kim, is it getting harder because, like we know that crowdfunding is now, it seems like the new big thing in order for independent films to get made. They all pretty much depend on crowdfunding. Whereas before they used to depend more on people like yourself who would come between the project and the investors. But it's come to the point now where the return for these movies is, now they've taken physical media away from everything. Uh, uh, and it seems to me it's getting harder for people to secure money for projects because the investors, they're wondering now, how are we getting our money back? It's a redundant theme I hear over and over and over. It's like, we can't get the money we want because they're asking us how we're going to pay them back. And it's like, before we could sell, we could sell our movies, we could make hard copies and sell them in stores and distributors and whatnot. But that's pretty much gone away. And the money they're getting from the streamers, it isn't as much as they would probably get from distributors. Um, is 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 crowdfunding going to be the new normal for film? I mean, outside the big studios.
I don't I don't know. I know that it seems to work for several friends of mine. Um, I don't. I'm not sure that it'll take the place entirely of just simply raising my investment monies as I've done. I find that it doesn't seem to be any harder for folks that I know and for myself. I think it's really about the project that you've got, the director you have attached, their ability uh, to well, it's always helpful if you have a director that has product in the marketplace earning,
Right.
but that's always a plus. But having great distributors like I have, I've been very fortunate in that and been well taken care of. But no, I think it depends. I think the money is still there for the projects that have good good storylines and good directors. Um, I think that crowdfunding is an excellent way to do things. Fortunately, we've not had to go that route because we have a lot of support in that regard. But maybe it'll be a mix of both. You know.
I like what you said about him. You're still getting support. Again, it speaks to you that you're able to do that because there's a lot of people that cannot do that anymore. They just can't. They just can't. It's harder and harder for them to secure money for their projects outside of well, look at the studio landscape. I mean, it's really something. You got Paramount that's gonna up for sale. They've already cut 15% of their workforce. 15%. And other, you have Warner Brothers. I don't even know how they survive with all the debt they're carrying. I truly don't understand that. I mean, they have so much debt. And then I think the only studio really that it seems like the only two studios right now that are really doing extremely well are Universal and Disney. But
Unfortunately.
even
However, perhaps that makes more room for the independent artists up and coming. Perhaps it opens the door for more independent content, perhaps. It doesn't scare me. Maybe it should, but it doesn't. I think that there's going to be, with the changes that are taking place, I think it's just going to welcome the indie artist in more than ever. You know, there certainly are more and more platforms that are looking for content, and so that certainly makes it easy for us. I don't feel afraid of the failure of the studio model. I feel encouraged by the passion and hard work that I see in those that I'm fortunate now to call my peers. You know, there are a few out there that just every day I'm in awe of how many movies they're making and how much everyone is working around me. Doesn't seem to be slowing from
Yeah,
what I see.
I guess they're trying to do more with less. You know, like, you know, we can make these movies now instead of having a crew of 500. Maybe we can make this movie with a crew of 325. You know, and cut the cost down that way. But you know, it is a little alarming though when you do see it like a 50% labor cost, and all the departments that it affects. Plus, they're selling the lots that they shoot on and everything else. You know, to me, it's like I couldn't understand why they were doing that or shutting them down, because to me, it's like now you have to go outside. You had your own property, but now you have to go outside to do other things that you once had in house, and you know those prices are going to go up. They're going to go up, and it's going to drive costs of productions going up. Um, it's a
Yes,
concern.
but I haven't been afraid to think of leaving that environment anyway, in lieu of tax credits that can be found in other states anyway. You know, Georgia and Louisiana are fantastic for that. So, you know, I suppose it has its pros and cons. Like I said, I feel only encouraged by what I see out there. I think that, I think where some doors are closing, it's really opening opportunities for us elsewhere. So
So
maybe I'm
now, now
optimistic that way, but
now most people, and I've put this question out before. Most people, they want to be in front of the camera, but you're a producer, so you're back of it. So how did you get involved in producing? I mean, how old, how old were you, per se, and like, were you coming out of college for this? Did you have friends of this? Like, I'm looking at you were associate producer on Red Riding Hood. How did you land there to get your start into producing?
it's not glamorous. I was simply marauding like a pirate for investor money, for filmmaking friends that I was working for at the time, just raising money and making my way into relationships that way. I've worked for a few companies, Big Sky Motion Pictures, Avalon Family Films, several independent companies, just raising money for them. And so that's kind of how it started. And just the desire uh, to want to be like those that I was working for and raising money for. How old? 565. Maybe that's how old I was.
I bet some days it does, right? Um, how does a producer get compensated for a project? I mean, we hear about them all the time, but like actors will sign up for a certain fee, and a director will get a certain fee or whatnot. As far as the crew, how does a producer, how do they are they do they get paid based on the return of the film? Um, I mean, or do they get paid just like anybody else? Or I mean, because I know some actors will sit there and say instead of getting paid, they'll take some of the back end. They're going like, I don't need the money up front. I'll just take it on the back end. See how the movie does. Is that what a producer does as well? Does a producer, believe in a project so much that they'll sit there and say, yeah, I'll take 1.5% of the back end, whatever we make past production costs, or is it a set, or is it a negotiated pay?
I think it really varies per project and just based on the agreement that you've got with your team. You know, I think typically you're going to see some form of producer fee in the budget built there for you. And in my case, yeah, you have a percentage of the ownership and the back end profits as well. If you're very fortunate, you may see money up front with your distributors. So there's a number of ways, and I think it just kind of varies. I usually will see a fee in my film Pale Horse. However, I was happy to return that fee just to the production itself or whatever it needed. So, but yeah, fees, back end, percentage of ownership, these types of things typically.
I was thinking, like, to me, I was so impressed with your resume, and I'm going to get to it soon. But as soon as I saw the list of your credits, the one thing that just jumped out at me was Downton Abbey, and I'm like, okay, now there's got to be some stories behind that, because that's a huge IP. That thing is famous. This thing is very famous, and to be involved to be involved in a project like that, it's got to be just absolutely a joy. But before we get that, I want to keep going, walking you up and asking some questions about this. So, off your first movie, Little Red Riding Hood, what were the three things that came at you, like three obstacles that came at you that you had to overcome, and how did you do it?
I think that the obstacles are usually in this environment. They're always going to be the same. Packaging and pitching and selling an investor on a project and procuring the investment monies. It's always the same challenge. Just capturing investment monies, really. And in overcoming the obstacle, I would say, just for me, I think it's just the experience of having done it a long time. Whereas, I know what a good business plan looks like. I usually, and I usually do my best to form good relationships with investors that I can return to, and know where I can place certain projects for finance. So, just experience, I think, is what it takes. Trial and error.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
I would say it'd be you've come in there, and you're producing your associate producing your first film, and there's got to be so many different. I mean, were you on set every day for this?
No,
Yeah.
not really. And some more than others. Some not at all. Some I raised the money and I took my finder's fee, and I was not involved thereafter. Some I had the pleasure of really getting to enjoy the process. It just depends on on the particular production team and how willing they are to put up with me.
Now, did you always want to produce? Because
Yes.
like, okay, so acting never came. Acting never got in your blood, right? You were more interested in the nuts and bolts of making it happen more than performing.
Exactly. I tend to like to stay hidden in the shadows a little bit. I'm more behind the scenes, and I'm really, my focus is really to work closely to work closely with the director to provide them with all of the tools needed to tell the story, and that excites me. That's really where I like to be.
Yeah.
Acting is something that I would have loved to have had the talent for and the inhibition for, but I think that I make a better producer than an actor.
Sorry about the glasses. It's so humidity is here. It's so strong in Michigan. And we got thunderstorms rolling through. Yeah, we just every time I put on my glasses, it's fogging up. I'm going like, now then I have to magoo the screen. So let's talk about Downton Abbey, because I have so many questions. So Downton Abbey is a major British series that people loved. I mean, I think it came after. Did it come from the ashes of Upstairs, Downstairs? I want to say yes, but I'm not entirely sure. I know it's in the vein upstairs, downstairs. Um,
That's an
but
excellent question that I
and
don't know the answer to, actually.
it's it's totally English. It's totally you know. So how did an American get involved in producing Downton Abbey?
Friend, being fortunate enough to be very good friends with a lovely Norwegian woman who is a patron of the arts, and wanted to get involved. And so just having good relationships, being lucky, quite frankly.
My God. So I mean, but that's a pro. Now, see, that's a project to me. That's an easy sell. I mean, I could be I'm probably way off saying that, but what I mean by like this is like when you walk in and you sit there and say Little Red Riding Hood, it might perk up a few ears. You might say, okay, yeah, you know, let's see what you got. But when you walk in there and you say, how about we're going to make a movie about Downton Abbey. I mean, to me, it's like that's a no-brainer. I mean, you're going to have investors lined up because the box office and the publicity and the cast, it's gonna be you're gonna get a return from it. I mean,
Sure.
you're gonna get your money back plus some. You know, like I invested a couple of $1 million. I'm probably gonna get, you know, I'm probably gonna get my original 2 million. I'm probably gonna make 5 or 6 on after that. You know, depending on the box office. That's a fine investment. You're gonna make coin off that.
Sure.
Um, so so what is the challenge? What is the challenge of doing a known property like that? I mean, it's just you know you come in and you go there. Okay, well, I'm going to be able to raise this much money toward the budget. But doesn't a movie like that already have a budget in place from the studio, or doesn't the studio give you the kind of money that you need for the project, or
Not
is it
necessarily. No. No. There was money coming from more than one direction on that project. So not always. It depends. It depends. Some large projects are financed by, well, I would like to say people like you and myself, but people like you and myself with a little bit more money. But yeah.
I, in my case a lot more money? Um, Now, had you ever heard of the movie or the TVs or the series before you got
Yes,
involved in it?
yes, I was familiar with it from the series that was already existing, and I believe it was what BBC actually. And so yeah, I was quite familiar with it beforehand. I knew that it was a good project to work on.
Yeah. Now when producers come in, uh, you know, and they're bringing their kind of money to the party, what can an investor or a producer, like, you know, let's say I'm going to invest 2 million. Yeah, people ask me to invest $2 million inside Downton Abbey. As me as an investor is investing that kind of money or more, what rights do they have, or how far can they get involved in the movie as far as shaping it? Are they totally excluded and looking inward, or are their voices allowed to come onto the set? Like, well, we want to put Helen Mirren in our movie. You know, you want to cast to say the original cast wants to do, say, you know, like Maggie Smith, but then someone says, well, instead of Maggie Smith, I want to do Helen Mirren. Do investors get that kind of clout as far as influencing casting and casting directors?
It again, it really depends on the project itself and the arrangement that the production company makes with the executive producer in order to secure the money. I have seen situations where not at all, not at all. They're just waiting for updates, waiting for return on investment. I've seen situations where there is a certain amount of involvement. Like I said, it really just depends. I think that with projects that are that large, I typically see, you know, investors sitting back and allowing the team to do what they do best, and just being very fortunate that they're able to participate, really. But I mean, it depends. It depends. I think I've seen it both ways.
Uh, so were you for this project here? What was your role other than raising the money? Did you have any other role besides that? Were you allowed to be on set for this one as well, or was it just one of those where you found some money and then you moved on to the next one?
Found the money and moved on to the next one with that one. Quite frankly,
But you
I
get but you get a credit for this, right?
certainly, and I do on a lot of the projects that I've raised money for. There's a project that I worked on. I raised 14 million for What Love Is with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Anne Heche and Gina Gershon for Big Sky Motion Pictures, Mars Callahan and Rand Shortkoff, actually. And I was solely just there to procure the money, and I did not do anything more. I was graced with an associate producer credit, but did I actually produce on the project? It's an honorific title, really. I did nothing more than chase down the money and deliver it to them, quite
You
frankly.
know, you know by what you just said, right? You raise sport. You're gonna have a lot of best friends real quick when the independent directors when they hear this, they're gonna go ahead and like, what? Who's this Kim again? Let me go and talk to her. You're gonna make a lot of new friends.
Oh, yeah.
Does that happen a lot now? Now, I mean, does that happen a lot now for you? Um, like a lot of people like you get a lot of phone calls from a lot of different production companies asking for your help. I mean, like I noticed you have. I mean, and what moves you to take on a project? I'm sure everyone has its perks. Like I'm sure there's probably a flat fee. Because you're for your talented. For your talent and your resources. I'm sure there's a flat fee. And like, if you want me to help you, you're gonna have to do this X. X to B to C. Um, but what makes you decide to do that? I mean, because not every project that comes at you has merit, right? So how do you pick which ones that you believe in?
I think that's a good question. I think I think I've always been drawn to work that's a bit more surreal. I'm very much a fan of Salvador Dali and Alejandro Jodorowsky, and I tend to really lean toward projects that I feel have some type of something special about them in that way. I love horror films as well. So, I lean toward darker, more surreal projects. But, I've worked on a lot of different types of things. So I guess it's just, when something stands out, or if it belongs to a filmmaker that I really, really appreciate. And I like to I'd like to consider myself a patron of the arts and one that helps filmmakers to realize their dreams. So, it's those types of things that motivate me, I think, more than ever. You know.
What type of horror films do you like, Kim? I mean, what are some of the movies that you watch that have has really impressed you?
Really impressed me, all of Perry's work, because of the fact that he is a very daresome filmmaker. And we'll, I suppose, talk more about Perry in a little while. But all of Perry's works, um, old old films, old Hammer films, Roger Corman. I love Roger Corman. I'm possessed by Vincent Price. So anything pertaining to Vincent Price, I have an old soul when it comes to movies. Um,
Vincent Vincent Price is so. It's hard to say this in today's world, but man, he's underrated. I just feel like, man, people just have slept on him. The last 15 years of his career, he did so much of that slapstick comedy and stuff. And I think that's how people know him. A lot of the younger people know him from his last 15 years. The Brady Bunch and all these variety shows that he did. And it's like it's really rare for them to go back to the old movies and look how good he was. I mean, he was a lady killer. He was so smooth and debonair, but
Yes,
the menace underneath him, it's really, really interesting. I enjoy the hell out of him.
I do.
Um, what about today's talent? I mean, is there anybody in today's horror in today's horror field? Any actors or directors that have caught your fancy? Let's say some of the directors wanted to make a movie and they came to you for some help. What directors would you what directors would you go ahead and say, hell yeah, I'll help you out?
Oh gosh, a list. I'm really impressed with Os Perkins. I love anything that Blumhouse does. I love uh, Mike Flanagan's work. I love James Wan. I love it when he returns to his horror roots. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. Um, gosh, there's so many. There's so
Can,
many.
can, can, let me ask you this: as far as selling goes, why is it so hard to sell rated PG 13 horror versus rated R horror?
Well, probably because that you can do much more with an R-rated film. You can push your boundaries a little bit more and be a little bit more scary, perhaps. You know, I think your
So I
demographic
mean,
your demographic is a bit wider when you're working with a PG or PG-13 content, but I would probably prefer an R-rated film myself.
me too, me too. I mean, I love Bloomhouse, but man, it's like every movie they come out with a PG 13 rating, I'm running the other way because this intermittently is going to be terrible. I can't really remember the last. I can't really
I,
remember the last Bloomhouse movie PG-13 that really caught my fancy. But the rated R stuff is really good.
they scare me anyway, and I think I love everything they do. Actually,
Do you get scared easy? I mean, when you're sitting there watching a horror movie, are you one of those that grips the seats or the or Cammy's arm, or are you one of those, or hide behind the hands, or are you one of those that go like, oh
of
hell yeah?
of course I am, but I'm hoping, I'm wanting to be scared. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the moment to be scared. So yes, I love it. I will definitely be scared. I've not been able to get through Hereditary still.
Really? Hereditary.
That movie was very scary for me.
I got some movies to scare you. Hereditary, my ass. I'll get some good ones for you. I'll get some good ones for you. I'll send you a small list after this interview is over with. I'll help you out.
What's
I'll help.
that?
I'll send you the movies that have disturbed me. Like I've seen two movies this year that have disturbed me greatly, and that was one of them was called The Coffee Table.
Really?
Oh, believe me, you watch The Coffee Table and get through that, you'll be watching Hereditary. No problem. No problem at all. Um, uh, um, so let's talk a little bit about the main attraction here. You got a brand new movie that you're producing called Pale Horse. It's coming out. Do you have now? Is it out yet theatrically, or is it do you have a date, or has it been released yet?
It's here domestically, Amazon, Vudu, Fandango, and foreign territories will see theatrical releases, and that's just in the process as we speak, literally.
So it's still rolling out, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah, it only just popped up on Amazon last week, so it's in the process of
Yeah, I don't think a lot of the average moviegoer realizes how a movie gets released. Yeah, I think they think that it's suddenly tomorrow on Friday it's there, and it's like no, it's sometimes it rolls out differently. sometimes an original American movie will not roll out in America first. I just talked to Alexander Nisky and Joe
Oh,
Cornette, and their new movie called "Taken for Rio Bravo." It actually opened up in Russia and came westward. We didn't. We were one of the last territories to get it. I mean,
really?
I was sitting here. I'm thinking, I'm going, when's this movie going to get released here? And I've been seeing it. I've been hearing people talking about it. Going, yeah, it's playing in Russia, then it's playing in Europe, and it's playing. Like like in February and March, and they're going like, okay, it should be here. It should be here relatively soon. I don't think it got here till July. I don't think it got here till July. So sometimes it'll take a movie a long time to roll out. It'll roll out here first, and then it'll go to China, then Great Britain. The size of the market. Um, it's really different. It's not just here today, playing tomorrow. Um, Pale Horse. Just how did you get involved in the project? I mean, same thing. I mean, right? People contact. Were you contacted about this? um, Asking you to help, get the funding for the film? Was this like, had were you there from the very beginning, or how did your involvement start with Pale Horse?
Well, Pale Horse is a film actually that was uh, that was written by my father, and it was a story that we had talked quite a bit about, and we wanted to make a movie, and I secured the money to make the movie before I really knew what I was going to make. And after searching high and low for the story that I wanted and failing, we decided to develop a story internally. And so we had something that we liked, and where my father had had come up with the idea, and we played with it a little. And then he and Ryan Brookhart and Pearry wrote the screenplay. But no, I was involved from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Uh, it was a project that is very different from others that you'll see from on my IMDb, for example. Whereas I was approached to just act as a liaison and raise the money. This was my own film,
Okay.
and so after assisting in the process um, of seeing to the screenplay being developed, I of course took it to produce. So
So is
this,
this your first movie that is totally 100% yours? I mean, you're not just here for a minute then move on. I mean, this is your baby. This is your passion project.
it is. This one is my own.
Yeah. How bittersweet is it, right? I mean, how completely bittersweet. Um, your dad's a screenwriter.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you knew your way a little bit around Hollywood before. I mean, because your dad was a screenwriter. How long had he been in the business?
My father, my father was actually a musician and a writer, a bass player, and toured all over the world with various artists. I grew up predominantly surrounded by musicians and artists of that nature, musical artists. It wasn't until later in my father's career that he decided to extend his writing abilities into the world of filmmaking. Unfortunately, he didn't get an opportunity to do too much in that regard because my father passed during the making of Pale Horse. We actually lost 5 crew members during the making of our film. Pearry, one executive producer, my father, who is also a writer, producer, a few people. But so he was a screenwriter, but mostly in music.
Mm.
That was the better part of his career, was as a musical artist.
Um, was music your first love? When you got into the entertainment field, were you attracted to bands and music more than film, or has it always been film?
No, I was actually a theater arts major. I was, as a younger girl, I was aspiring to be a ballet dancer. I danced ballet most of my life, and then as I grew older and started to understand that I had a desire for theater and filmmaking, my direction kind of shifted a bit. But no, I'm not musically inclined. My fiance Cami is is incredibly talented in that regard, and I have other family members who are as well. Myself, if I tried to sing, we would be ending this interview very quickly.
I think you underestimate yourself. I too. I mean, I came from the world of music too, so I I don't have any talent. I just, I could tell you who has. I can spot that for you. If you wanted me to tell you who's going to be the next big thing, I could do that. But as far as playing, no, no, me either. Me either. Um,
Yeah.
your dad got involved in the project, and he outlined it. He wrote the screenplay for it. So so tell us how you got involved with. Did you pick your producer? Did you pick Perry Teo to be your producer? Am I saying
Uh,
his last name right?
Pardon?
Did I say his last name right? Is it
Very
Teo?
Teo.
Yeah.
Teo.
Okay. Okay.
I did. I approached Perry to not to produce, but to direct, and I was very fortunate that he liked the project. Perry was my dream choice to work with. As someone who is a fan of surrealist artists. Um, he was someone that I really hoped would take an interest in this project. He's known um, for his more surrealist, very visual, unconventional, innovative approach to storytelling. And so he was someone that I approached and really hoped that he would take an interest. And fortunately, he did.
Now, before you met him, what did you know about him? Did you have any idea of what was going on in his head? I mean, did you recognize? Was there any signs at all about it, Kim?
An artist like Perry Teo, I'm not certain if you can. I would be arrogant to say um, that I knew what was going on within his process or within his head. I knew that I knew that he was one that was known for being very very much an expert in creating dreamlike, uncomfortable settings. I knew that he was a very experimental filmmaker. I knew that he was one that was really known for wanting to push boundaries. And that, of course, led to um, some very unorthodox, unconventional methods in some of the things that we did on set. I knew that he was one that was uh, very, very much one for symbolic, symbolism, I suppose. And so that was something that really drew me to him, and I knew to expect that from him before I actually met him in real life, by virtue of knowing his work.
Now, like I don't know what his returns were on the film, on his career. But I know that experimental filmmakers, it's hard. It's not. I guess you're not there for the money. Experimental filmmakers. I mean, that's Jamie Hill was here earlier, and she starred in a movie called Skinamarink. That was a very experimental film, very David Lynch like. But that movie was a rare thing. I mean, it went out there and popped to $15 million. but it's still a highly experimental film. But that's the exception to the rule, right? I mean, experimental films traditionally have a hard time with the general public. I mean, look at Darren Aronofsky. You know, when he came out with Mother, people were coming out of the theater going like, "What did I see? I don't understand it. It's different." And you know, it was very experimental what he did. But that's a was that a concern for you? I mean, as far as commercially goes, like you want your movie to go out and do well commercially, was that a concern for you, or was this more like, this is my first time doing this. I'm just gonna go. I'm just going around the block. I'm gonna see how it goes, see if I like it, see if this is everything what it's supposed to be, and then we'll move forward from there with another movie. Was this sort of like your experimental movie to see how it will go?
I think that that's an excellent question.
Thank you.
You know, I think that for me, I'd never worried. I didn't question, and I didn't think of at the time foolish of me, but I did not think
How would you know?
I didn't think of selling the film. I did not think when we made the film, we did not make it with the idea of the distributors in mind or how it would be received or what we were not playing to the gallery. We were not really giving much thought to how the audience or the distributors would receive it. We were really more interested in creating an art piece more than even a film. Early on, Pearry had expressed to our team how he had felt about the filmmaking process, and it was quite beautiful actually. He'd shared this thought process with us a few times, and that was that he believed that art was the most important thing, expressing ourselves truly and purely and honestly as artists. He believed that art and a film was, and he said so actually, that in filmmaking, in creating movies, we live forever, that we live forever in the movies that we make, that they immortalize us, and that that art is the only thing that really matters in the end. And that idea that he expressed very early on stayed with me throughout all of the somewhat crazy things that we did. And it led me to just trust what we were doing, trust the process, and accept the film the gift of the film that we would end up with, that we would come out with in the end. And so it was, I didn't worry. I didn't even give it a thought. I just went with the process and trusted it, I think. And I'm glad that I did.
Does it, because you trust it so fully, does it hurt more? I mean, does it hurt more knowing that, you know, here's this gentleman, he's brilliant, he's a genius, is entrusted, you entrusted to make your film. I mean, how it must hurt, I mean, to know that for that, art is pure, and art is this, it's special, it's pure, it's, creative. It must just be it's got to be sort of inside. You got to be sort of raging against the machine a little bit, knowing that while he said it out to everybody else, that he himself struggled with that. Struggled.
I think that there's a fine line there. Yeah. Between artists. I think there's a fine line between a great artist and where chaos is found. I think his struggle pushed him artistically. I think his struggles were
Do you think he pushed him artistically? Because to me, it seems to me it would be blocking his artistic.
I think that his choices were just that. His struggles were choices were that were self-inflicted in an effort to perhaps even propel him in certain ways that maybe we just can't understand. You know, I wouldn't be so. I wouldn't be honest if I said that I could understand. And you know, I think that's the case with a great artist. It's there's a lot of complexity there, but I think that everything he did was with reason, and this and yes, it is sad. It's a sad loss for
Yeah.
us. It's a loss to the genre that Pearry's not here anymore. But when I think about that, I do have to return to what he said, what he told me, and that is that, you know, our time here is fleeting, and we'll live forever in the movies that we make and through them. And so I feel him here still. I feel him
Sure.
in each frame of my own film, and in the
Sure.
beautiful other films that he's made, and in the stories that we're telling right now about him. So, you know, he's not far, and that makes me
And to the folks in the chat and to the people watching on replay, Kim and I are talking about the film's director of Pale Horse, Pearry Teo, who he overdosed at age 44 and he passed away. This was his last film, right? Pale Horse was his last film, and
yes.
it's really bittersweet. It always is, you know, when you run across somebody who has obviously talented, you know, talent. I've mentioned this several times about some of the people I met in my career that, you know, they self-destructed and crashed and burned too, you know, including people who passed away. They overdosed and passed away. And there's some of me, there's part of me that's it's part of me obviously that's very sad. It's very sad. And I'll be honest with you, Kim, there's part of me that gets really upset. You know, I'm pissed. I'm pissed at it because it's like you have a talent, a God-given talent that very few people get, and you take that talent you know, the legacy is like the legacy of his films, yes, and there always will be there. But so will the legacy of him overdosing. You know, him ending his life through his addiction. That too is part of his legacy and part of his immortality. And it's just and it will combine. It'll always clash with the body of work. You always talk about you always hear about someone famous who has passed away through that, and why they talk about their films and their music or their books or what have you, but so is the self-destructive part of it, and that comes in. And it's like you think about all the people that are affected by that. I mean, it wasn't just him that died that night. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that were severely hurt and damaged by this, and and I feel really bad for you. I feel really bad for your team. I mean, I think the movie's still going to come out there and kick ass, but still to go through that and still instead of being here together tonight and talking about the film together, me, and Pearry, or you and Pearry and whoever else we're going to talk to, it's you, and you're carrying his torch, and to me, I just feel that's really bittersweet. You know, it's like it's just it's a little bit frustrating. It's a little bit of frustration, um, and pain. Um, but I mean, all the things that you learn from everything that you do, right? All the projects that you do, you overcome, you adapt, and you move forward the best you can. So tell us a little bit about the story of Pale Horse, if you can. Don't, no spoilers, of course. But what was your dad's vision? What was your dad's vision in writing this? It looks to be, I mean, it looks to be, the title of it looks very Native American. What kind of is it a? So tell us about the film. How would you describe this film to me without me seeing it? I didn't get a screener.
You didn't.
No.
I don't know how I overlooked that. I apologize for that. I meant to send you one. And before I go into that, I do want to take a minute to thank you for all that you said about Pearry. That's lovely of you. And he's very, very missed. As far as the story, what this is about, this is about an artist who is like a lot of artists out there, who has an incredible, unwavering passion and desire to share everything that he has within him. There's a lot that he wants to say to the world, and he is one that is driven to succeed at any cost, and goes to some very extreme measures to be recognized and to find that success. The practice of magic, for one thing. This was a story that I thought was important, in that it's my hope that it encourages a conversation about the importance of art as a weapon, as a tool of transformation, as a tool of influence, which is how this particular artist that you'll get an intimate look at in this story sees art and his process. And so that's really the gist, without giving too much away. He practices magic to achieve these goals, and he does become very successful. But of course, there's a price involved. And
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I looked at the Pale Horse's cast, and I immediately know two of the faces right off the bat. One of them actually has been on the show twice.
no,
Yes, and would it take a guess who it was?
let me see. Just guessing. Would it be by chance the legendary Eileen Dietz? Were you that fortunate to have Eileen on your show?
I had the filmmakers, one of her movies called Night of the Caregivers. And she did that with Natalie Denise Spurl, and she did that with Alexander Nevsky and Joe Cornette. They were on the show last week talking about the new Western film,
Oh,
Small World, right?
sure.
And I have a friend of mine who actually got to drive Eileen around during the convention, and they became friends. In fact, they talk on the phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Eileen's got skills. She's got chops still.
Oh, Eileen is a goddess. She's fantastic. She works nonstop.
Yeah.
I hope to have another opportunity to work with her. She's so busy you can grab her, but if you're lucky enough, she's wonderful to work with.
So I still have yet to talk to Eileen. I would love to do it. I'd love to have the honor to talk to her. But I did have the honor of talking to Alexis Iacono twice.
Alexis.
Hello. Right? Alexis.
You know, Alexis is tied into one of my greatest regrets about Pale Horse. And that is that we had the pleasure of this fantastic, remarkable, talented woman. And
she's amazing.
She's unbelievably brilliant. And such a tiny part. That's my regret. If I could go back and do one thing over, it would be to give her a larger part, because
Yeah.
it wasn't worthy of her talent. But
You know,
she's a very good friend of Pearry, and so she agreed to grace the film with her presence. But yeah, she's fantastic. I love Alexis.
it's funny you mentioned Hereditary. So I sort of have a hereditary story with Alexis. So
Do you?
yes, because I had her on the show and we were talking about her career and and she had made a movie. She had made a movie called Blue Caprice, and I had that movie. I had bought the movie, and but I hadn't watched it yet. I collect ISC films, so I still had the movie. And when she came on, we were talking. She says I was in Blue Caprice. I said, oh, okay. So they had me for one part, but then they changed it whereas I got shot. And so I'm going like, really? He says, yeah, I play a pregnant person and I get shot. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you, Kim. I can't watch that movie knowing that she gets shot. I can't.
I wouldn't want to see it myself. Not
No.
that. But
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I'm sitting over here and it's still factory sealed. I still can't watch it. I still don't want to see. I don't want to see it. It terrifies me. Um, so what was it now for this movie? You were on set all the time. So
every
what was it like for you? Was this your first movie where you're on the set all the time? And if so, what are some of the things that surprised you about the process?
well, there were there were plenty, especially working with Pearry. Um, a few secrets that I'll tell about the film that were surprising, that I did not expect, that are very unorthodox. Um, just off the top of my head, Pearry wanted to make everything as real as possible. And so the altars that are set up, the magic and the rituals are as real as they can possibly be. We had two technical advisors, a gentleman out of New Orleans by the name of Elmer Glover, who was a voodoo priest and an exorcist who advised us, as well as Jimmy Darling, who was one of the founders of Pan Pipes here in Los Angeles, which is a magical marketplace, and she's an authority on most every single thing that pertains to magic and witchcraft and voodoo and exorcisms and rituals and everything magic. And so they guided us in the process of making the ritual scenes as authentic and real as they could. Fortunately, I had some very daresome actors. Our lead actor, Sabian, being very well versed on magic himself. So a lot of what you're seeing is real. Pearry, we kept altars dressed and offerings made all throughout, on set and off set. Pearry had two, for lack of a better word and accurately, witches who came in and did some wonderful things with our sound designer, John Capo, to put incantations and spell works beneath all of the sound design all throughout the film. Pearry wanted to conjure spirits with this film, and his hope that those spirits would even be conjured in the homes of the viewers watching the film. He really wanted to push otherworldly boundaries with the making of the film in that way, and so that was unexpected, to say the least. Very unexpected.
Are you a believer? Are you a believer in that in magic and in witchcraft, or did you just feel like it helped move the film along?
I think that absolutely I'm a believer in magic. Maybe not in the way that some might think, and a fan and a tourist of any and all magicians everywhere. So It was something that was, I'm not certain what to believe. I'm sure that there's all sorts of things that are unknown, that are beyond human comprehension that I couldn't begin to understand. But sure, I believe in magic, and this was an incredible experience to witness Pearry's uh, to witness Pearry's process, so steeped in alchemy and so fearless in that way, moving it through the world of spirits as he often did, very often did. That was I was a happy I was a happy tourist on that journey. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, some people are very in tune to that sort of thing. They believe it. Some people do not. I mean, um, I tell you, I'm a believer. um, so, listen. So that sounds like an immensely incredible set. Um, did you do any behind the scenes filming for while the movie was being made? Because I would love to know that. I would hope. And are you planning on producing Pale Horse on physical media? Do you have a distributor for physical media yet? I mean, so we could all get a copy of it when it comes out.
I believe so. I think that's part of the plan, actually. What was the first question? I beg your pardon.
Uh, as far as the physical media aspect of it, I
Oh,
mean, yeah, is that going to be
I think so. Yes.
good? Good. Yeah, I would love to own a copy of this, a hard copy. It sounds fascinating
I
to
am
me.
sorry that I did not send you a screener link. You should have
Yeah,
done.
I didn't want you to think that I was unprepared. I was just like, I wasn't, I didn't think the film had come out quite yet, to the general public.
Mm.
So, in fact, right here, the Friendly Man right here, I was telling you about Eileen, about one of the people who worked with her at a convention. The Friendly Men podcast is where my friend who worked at the convention, he's part of the Friendly Men. He's the one that drove Eileen around and became
Oh,
friends with her. Yeah, that's some timing right there, James.
what a joy, though. I would drive her around all day myself if I could capture her for a couple of hours. She's so busy working. She works nonstop, but I drive her
Oh,
myself. Eileen, if you're watching, I'll drive you. Call me.
Uh, now, they say, once you get the one thing wrapped up, now, I mean, I know you're still going to work publicity for the Pale Horse, but are you already looking forward to your next project?
Oh,
Are you willing to do this one again, or do you want to do your own film again?
yeah.
Or yeah,
Yes, absolutely. Actually, myself and my partner, we've got two that we're working on simultaneously, and so you'll be hearing about those very soon. I debated whether or not to give a sneak peek of what we're doing today, but I'll wait.
yeah, let's wait.
I'll
Let's
wait.
wait.
But yeah, but we're making two films right now, so I'll
Um,
be back over here to bug you soon.
Yes. I always generally wait till I see it listed in IMDb before I ask about it. Um, but now you're doing publicity. Now have you been interviewed before about anything as far as being a producer goes? Have you been interviewed yet? Or is this your first press junket? You're going to be going around some other places to do interviews about the movie. Is this your first time doing this part of it?
I've done a couple, but nothing as enjoyable as today. It's
Yeah,
fun.
I really hope I know that I know we talked really heavy and but I think we did it with love and respect for coming from my side.
I know.
Um I would have loved to talk to him. I would have loved to got to know the guy, Perry. I would have loved to talk about his process and everything else. And see, that's the part that just upsets me because it's like now we're all robbed of that. We're all robbed. We all suffer from it. So I'm just,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that, and I understand,
yeah,
and I agree. You
but
you would
you suffer too, though. You hurt too. I can't. I'm sure. When you heard it, I'm sure it broke your heart. I mean, you're sitting there going like, like he's gone. I'm sure it's one of those things where you're just sitting there going like, how did that happen? Why did it happen? We all do that. Um, but moving forward, though, everything you take from this experience and this process, it's going to make your next two films that much stronger. That much more, because there's, yeah, yeah. That's how I look at it for you.
Yes. Well, you know, I I tried not to talk about it, quite frankly, too much.
Yeah.
I've mentioned Pearry in the in that he's the director of the film. When I
Yes.
mention anytime I'm on social media mentioning Pale Horse, I'm usually mentioning Pearry's name. But
Sure.
I've not really I've refrained from doing a lot of talking about his passing and tributes in the same breath of promoting the film, mainly because I wanted to be careful not to use his passing in that way, and have tried to be very discreet about that part of my life with Pearry Teo, working with Pearry. But since we are talking about it, I will say he uh, he lived the exact life that he intended on his own terms. He was a extremely forward-thinking individual. He was a true artist in every sense of the word. I do know other filmmakers that make films, um, several films a year. I know some filmmakers who've made more films than their age itself, and and some of them, not all of them, as devoted as I saw Pearry, as I saw Pearry being in his filmmaking process. He he really seemed to not care, what other people really thought. He was unapologetic in telling a story in his own way, and in uh, and I will be the first to say his process was very unconventional and not always understood by me. But I knew early on that I didn't need to understand an artist like him. I knew early on that maybe I wasn't meant to understand an artist like him, but just to feel privileged to work with him and
Right.
learn from his creative freedoms and
Sure.
his process. And so, you know, that's what I've done. I think some people sometimes forgive me, but I think some people sometimes are are too wild for the world, too wild for this world. And Pearry, I don't know if that would be the case with him, but I would say that he he was a burning flame here, and he was not meant to be here longer than what he was, I suppose. Some people aren't meant to be here that long, but he came and he made quite an impact on many
He,
lives.
he has
And
a legacy and he is immortalized. So I mean, there is that. I mean, he'll always be here. Through his footprint. Through his art. So
if I could not have Pale Horse, if I could trade it for him being here, I certainly would.
yeah.
I miss him being on the earth very much. I miss knowing that he's out there making movies, but he's still with us.
Now, I just want to end this on a small lighter note if I can. So I'm going to do that. So I want you to share with us, what do you do when you're not working? I mean, what are some of your hobbies that you'd like to do? What's yours and Cammie's favorite restaurant? That sort of thing. What do you guys usually do on the weekend when he's not playing? with the band and you're not on a set? What do you guys usually do for fun?
I do a million things. I write poetry like crazy. I love to.
Really?
I've actually was. I had my first poem published in an anthology not long ago. So I really
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. I really enjoy writing. I enjoy dancing, ballet. My favorite restaurant with Cami is actually not a restaurant at all, but is our own kitchen when I can talk him into cooking Italian food for me because he is the best, just the
So
best.
so how many times does he cook
Incredible.
Italian food a week? Like four or
Well,
five?
his mother is a chef and just the most beautiful, talented chef on the planet. And so, he's been taught by the
You know,
best.
I don't think Cammy told me that he cooked Italian dishes. I
Oh,
think
he
you hid that from me. I might have to. I
many,
might.
many talents that he
Yes.
doesn't even be.
We might have to have him do like a cooking session here, and we'll definitely have to have you come back too and drop some poetry on us. Are you going to try to write a book?
We'll see. I'm making some movies for you guys to enjoy right now, but maybe it's just to feed my own soul. I love to write, and Cami is teaching me to paint. He's an incredible painter. Sometimes we paint. Um, you
Oh,
know,
I bet. You know what? I bet it must be nice. It must be nice. You must treasure the time where you're not always on the phone, always looking to, always people always tugging on your cape, so to speak. It must be nice to just totally relax, unplug the phone, grab a paintbrush, and while you're painting, you're reciting poetry. It must be out and while enjoying some lasagna. It must be absolutely really. You seem like a person that would really cherish their downtime.
I do. I do. Well, and I'm fortunate that I'm surrounded by a wonderful, loving family, an incredible partner. I've got a great team of people that I work with. I can't. I'm really lucky that
Is there anybody is there anybody from your team you'd like to shout out to bring some special recognition to?
I will shout out to a young lady that we were just talking about, Alexis.
Alexis. I love Alexis. I do.
Alexis,
She
uh,
blows me away.
she's traveling, I believe, to New York on some business, but I'm hoping to capture her for a lunch when she returns. Um, Eileen, uh, Daniel, or I should say, actually, Lorenzo Daniel Leonard, who is an incredible actor to work with, and he's not mentioned nearly enough. He plays Paul in the film, and really, I loved his performance so much. So, a couple of people.
Let me go up here and see his cast and crew.
I, I,
Why is
and
his name
and I
so familiar to me? Is he from Australia?
No, no, and he was actually an indie actor that Perry discovered and had huge plans for. Unfortunately, we
That's
didn't
what
get
I thought. You know what? I do know this gentleman.
Lorenzo Leonard. I think you might, and then
I
Parrish. I've got
Yeah.
to give that out to Parrish because Parrish really, I have to say. Parrish really didn't need to act in this movie. He only really needed to come in and be himself. He's a remarkable being and quite an otherworldly character. What you see there on the screen is really Parrish and who he is. So we only really needed to capture Parrish in his natural habitat, being himself, to get him to be Sabian. He really is Sabian.
Um,
So,
I looked, and Lorenzo has indeed been on the show.
oh, who hasn't been on your show, Patrick?
He has been on the show. Him and his director, Cher, Tom Cher, I think is Telly Cher. They did American Hun Story.
I
And
love
yes,
to.
they have been on the show before. That was a lot of fun. Those guys are pretty fun.
They are fun and extremely
Wow.
talented. Extremely.
Uh,
Wow.
that's a small world here. I think we're having our Kevin Bacon moment right here.
Right?
Yes.
Lorenzo
Um,
is our bacon.
um, I have kept you past my time, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. And I want to say thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
What a lovely discussion they had, and thank you for being so open and honest. And and it's been a it's been a journey. I've really enjoyed talking with you.
I
And
enjoy it too. You know, I have a nickname for you. Your show is Have Cheetah Will View. Your nickname to me is Cheetah. That's what I
yeah,
refer to
I
as.
get a lot of that. I definitely get a lot of that. If you look on the upper side of your screen, you'll see the cheetah staring right down at you. That's Paladin.
I see that.
Yeah, yeah, he's our guardian of the chat, and in fact, I'm sort of surprised he did not make an appearance during our interview. Um, but yeah, people call me that too. So they call me the cheetah, which makes me laugh because then I think of Zootopia. In Zootopia, they have a cheetah who's a cop, but he's like like he's huge. He's and I always say there's no such thing as a fat cheetah. Um, but but then again, there I go, right? Um, yeah, because yeah, he's turning 15 next month, and he is
Really?
still yes, he's still fast as ever. He still can run, he still can jump. Yeah, he still acts like a kitten.
Is your
Um,
little cheetah in the house?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah, I can hear him at night or romping around, and then in the morning, and like now he's starting to do this more earlier now. Before he would at least wait till 7:30. Now he's in and waking me up at 6:30. I don't know what that's all about, but listen, I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. I really enjoyed this so much.
My pleasure, my privilege. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate you. And
I'm looking forward to Pale Horse, and it's already playing on several streaming services. Um, and um,
I'll
and
send you the screener link.
okay, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and take a look at it and send my thoughts. Put some thoughts down on it. I want to thank the chat for coming out and hanging out with us today. I see you, James. I see Betty J still here with us. Uh, Thank you so much for coming in, Mesa. Um, he has a question for you. I didn't see that. It says, "Is that the last unicorn art behind Kim?"
Oh, it is not. It's an artist by the name of Mara Abood, who. But I love the last unicorn, actually. So let's just say that it is. It's not, but yeah. Inspired by. That's one of my favorite movies.
Nicholas Romero Daza said thank you. And our good friend John, who also hosts a podcast, he said, "Great show. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it so much. Always good to see you in, my brother. And thank you guys all for rolling in. Tomorrow night, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we'll be here with Joe Leone. He'll be back here tomorrow night. We'll talk about his new film, Scared to Death, that we'll be talking about. We've already talked to his leading lady, Arena Oz. Joe Leone is a fine director, and can that guy find talent? I'm always blown away. Every time he comes onto the show, he's always got some really, really sharp new talent. He's talking about. He has an amazing eye. But we'll be talking about Scared to Death tomorrow, and then on Thursday the 29th, we'll be welcoming in Tim and Tom Gross, who run Gross Fest.
Gross Fest. I love Gross Fest. I love those guys.
Now they'll be on Thursday. to come out. So they'll be coming out, and we'll be talking about. This is the first time I ever had convention organizers and runners on the show. So I'm
They're
really looking forward to
great
that.
convention. You'll enjoy that. They're
I'm
cool.
already. I love them already. They brought an actress out there who's a really good actress. I'm not sure if you know her name or not. Her name's Jennifer Nagel.
Jennifer Nagel, Mel, Malloy.
Malvoya.
What is?
Malvoya. Malvoya.
Yes, I
Oh,
admire her immensely. Do you know she and I share the same birth date of March 11th? My fellow
she.
Pisces.
I love Jennifer. I adore her so much, and
I've not,
she's a.
forgive me. I've not had the privilege of meeting her in person yet, but I'm well aware of her work, and I admire her a lot. So
Wow. We
anyone that
got.
invites Jen Nagel out is okay in my book. So I like those gross
I,
fest.
I yeah, the guys from Gross Fest flew her out there, and she was a featured guest at their convention. And I just absolutely I respect them madly for that. I think it's great because she deserves it. She definitely deserves it. She works her ass off,
She
and
does.
she really does. And yeah, she's on the she. How let me ask you a question. Is it weird? Is it weird or unheard of for talents to connect with each other on social media? I mean, like if let's say an actor wrote to you, say, "Hi Kim, how are you? I know you're a producer. Is there any way I could get onto a show or a movie? I mean, or I just wanted to say hi, just to meet you to say hi. Does that happen a lot among creatives like yourself?
I think so. I think so. It does with me. I mean, there are so many actors out there that I love and admire, and I'm always so thrilled when I have an opportunity to connect with them. So yeah, I think it does when we're lucky. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
everyone seems to be, in our industry, especially within the world of horror, which seems to be a smaller world than one would think. Everyone is so lovely and so welcoming, and so it's really easy to connect and to meet great people. Everyone's
Isn't
is
isn't
great.
that the case? Isn't that the truth? Horror actors are the nicest people. I mean, I've dealt with nice people throughout my whole series. I met with really nice people. I've been really blessed in that regard. But I've heard people mention that as far as the filmmaking process goes, they say the horror people are the nicest people, and I have to sit there and say yes, I agree with that. There's so many people I've had on here, and John's had on his show that are the very nicest people. I mean, they are very, very cool people.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that will be it for sure. Stay right where you're at for just for 1 minute, Kim, and to the chat. I'm going to let you guys go. We will see you tomorrow night here at 8 o'clock tomorrow with Joe Leone. Have a great night and stay safe. Peace.